special lists and tables are two special kinds of text. We've already covered paragraph text, body text, which is what is the default format for Microsoft Word. Lists and tables are a special kind of text. There are a variety of use cases for both of these things. So today we are going to cover all about lists and tables. But before that, before we get to that, I want to just describe a few of the assorted things that we have already discussed briefly in the past, in the last couple of sessions, but maybe we can just detail it out a little bit. So header and footer, a little bit of header and footer, adding borders, adding borders around content, boxes, and things like that. So before we get to working with lists and tables, I want to get to doing that. So then we'll come back to working on lists and tables. All right. Okay, right. So like every time, before we start, we are going to start with some random text on Microsoft Word. So I'm just going to generate some random text. Okay. Now, I have already shown you how you could use all of the styles over here, right? I've already shown you how you could use all of the styles here. Now, if you see the document has two major elements or two major sets of style elements. One would be all of these styles over here, right? And each one of these, we have seen how they are predefined. For example, if this is a title, right? If this is a title, then there are predefined styles in terms of what the title is. The other predefined style element for a document is the choice of colors that you get over here, right? Now, though the choice of colors, I say, is a predefined part of style, they are by no means limiting. They are by no means limited. For example, you see all of these colors, they are called the theme colors, right? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now, each of these 10 theme colors also have gradients. They have saturation levels. Okay. So these are all of these. They are nothing but those 10 theme colors with varying saturation level. Okay. So there is 5% darker, 15% darker, 35%, and 50%. So 5, 15, 35, 50. Four different saturation levels, four different black levels of these 10 colors. Now, you can always get any number of colors. See, now you have a larger palette of colors to choose from. Suppose this is also not enough. You've got an entire color spectrum to choose from. So wherever you want the colors, can you see the colors are changing? So you can go ahead and modify a color. You can go ahead and change a color. If you already know the web color of it, you can directly put the hex code of the color. So web colors are described by what is called the hex code of the color. If you know the hex code, you can always put it there. If you know the RGB code, then RGB model. So there are two different color models. I don't want to get to that theory, but there are two different color models. One is RGB, the other is HSL. HSL is hue, saturation, and luminance. RGB, of course, is red, green, and blue. So you can choose, if you know the color, then you can always directly, manually create all of these. Suppose 000 will give you white, right? Sorry, 000 RGB will give you black. 256, 256, 256 will give you white. Okay, so you can go ahead, if you know the color code, then you can go ahead and create whatever color codes you want. So these go up from 1 to 255. All of these will go from 1 to 255. So 255, 255, 255 for each one of these will give you white. Okay, so that is what is about these. But there is a way in Microsoft Word to change this entire set. So you are having a set of tools which describe the styles and which describe the colors to be used. So imagine, think of it like this, that you've got, if you're a painter, you've got different bags with different number of colors. So you've got one bag, which is you pick that bag up if you are going to draw a forest. So a forest scene is going to have blue, various shades, sorry, blue for the sky. You're going to have various shades of green for the trees. You're going to have some brown, some yellow, and things like that, right? But you are probably not going to need you may not be needing, like, say, something like a Prussian blue or ultramarine or something like that. So you can use instead of forest, you're going to do a beach sceneries and all. You're going to need a lot of blues and browns and whites and things like that, right? So you're picking this up from the forest. Now, what we do is we go back and we change the type of color set. So how do we do that? So you have the design tab. You have the design tab. In the design tab, you have something called themes. You have something called themes. So now the current default theme is Office. So you see, we've got a variety of themes here. One is called Facet, Gallery, Integral, Ion Board, and so on, right? Now, let me choose any one of these. Let me choose Facet. Okay. Now, come back to the Home tab. And if you see Facet, you notice what's happened? All of the heading styles have changed. So now Facet, instead of Calibri, Facet's default heading is a Trebuchet MS. Okay, so the font has changed. The color has changed. So now Facet is default heading is Trebuchet MS. Okay, so this is the default heading. Now let's look at what font or what color sets have it chosen. It has given me all of these different color sets. So now, even if I'm using Facet, I am not limited to only the green. I can still go back to the original Office color set. That's also possible. So everything is customizable. I can choose Facet, but I can choose it with the original Office color set. Or I can choose Office, but I can use that with a different color set. So I can use that instead of this with a red violet color set. If I use it with a red violet color set, now you see all of these have changed. All of these have now changed to red and violet color scheme alone. Right? Now suppose I have this as my title, which is appearing over here. But suppose is this the only title type that I can be limited to? Of course not. You can have a whole lot of title types. So now within this what is the one that I've selected? I've selected Ion Board. So within Ion Board selected, or which one did I select? Okay, anyway, I've selected Facet, I think. Yeah. So within Facet, I do not have to be limited to that title style. I can have more title styles. You see, I am just going and mousing over, hovering over each one of the title styles. So I use this as my title style. And then now, if I go back and change to title, then this will also get affected depending on what I'm choosing over there. Okay, so you can customize every single title style. Now, any other place also, but that will only apply to this particular thing. But I can change the entire style set by doing it over here. I do all of these, and once I am happy with the result, I say set as default. Then this is going to be the default every time Word opens for me. All right. So this is one other additional way to do this. This is another additional way to create this one. Okay. I see a couple of you saying audio is not clear. All right. So just give me a couple of moments. I'll just shift to a different audio network, different internet network actually. Okay, so hopefully it should be slightly better now. Not sure what is happening, but hopefully that should be better. Okay. Uh, there are so many. Alright, just trying to check. Okay. So I'll just quickly recap what I just mentioned. I'll just quickly recap what I've mentioned. So I said earlier, we've seen how you could change titles, etc., using the styles. But what if you want to change the style itself, right? So Office gives you, Microsoft Word gives you a variety of styles to choose from. How do you get those styles? Go to the Design tab, and there are a bunch of themes here. So your default, when Word starts, the default theme is Office, but you can choose any of the other themes. So you see each one of the themes not only changes the color, but they also change the font. They change the color and they change the font. So you decide what is of interest to you, what color sets suit the document that you're working on, right? And then go ahead and choose that particular color set. Suppose I decide to choose this. Now, when I have chosen this, now this is already a title, okay? But even this title, they offer multiple styles of this title. Let's see how many of this. One style, two, three, four, five, and so on. You see, various types of title style. Suppose I have, if I have a longer title, I'll have this. If I have a short title, I'll have this. Suppose I decide to have this one. Okay, now I can go back and change the colors as well. Suppose this is the default color set of this. What is the default color set? The default color sets have now changed. Can you see? Now, because I'm no longer using the Office theme, so therefore, the default theme of colors that is presented over here has changed, right? So how did this change happen? This change happened with the design. But suppose I want to go back to the Office colors with this particular style set, that's also possible. I go back and choose the Office colors. That's also possible. I've gone back and chosen the Office color. So now they are back to the original default for Office. So I can go back and make n number of changes, whatever changes I decide to do. So I have something in the blue-green spectrum. It's called a blue-green color theme. So you see all of the colors are in that blue-green spectrum. Of course, like I said, you will continue to have the option of making custom colors anytime. You'll continue to have that option, but these themes are now differently available to you. Not only those colors, but also the font. Suppose this font, you like everything about it, but not this font family, right? So you want to change to a different font family. Suppose this one. And every time you go back to this theme, you want, or every time you want it to appear only in this particular font. So once you're happy with whatever color sets and font sets that you've chosen, suppose you want it to appear with this color set and this font set, after you've done with it, you say set as default. So once you set this as default, every time Microsoft Word opens, instead of opening with Office theme and Calibri font, it is going to open with this particular theme that you've selected right now, which is called Savon, and it will open with Corbel font. All right, it'll open with Corbel font. Now, if you see what has happened, all of your styles have changed. Okay, the styles have changed, at least the style colors have changed. Okay, so now we had that strong emphasis earlier. You remember we had seen that intense quote. So now you see intense quote in this one is different. What is different from the previous one? The lines that were drawn over here are different. But do you have other intense quotes also? Let's take a look. But we don't really have other intense quotes. We only have different styles of title, which along with it will have different styles of intense quotes. So if you want this, see, it gives a nice magazine look to it. You see that? Gives a nice magazine look to it. So this, the name is Lines Stylish. So it looks stylish also. Lines because there are lines added. Okay, so if you want every time this particular style to open, say set as default, and every time you go to Word, this is the style that is going to open for you. All right, clear? Okay, so this is about making all of these styles happen. Now, I want to give you a couple of other things, other elements out of this particular design box. I'm going to just reset everything. But notice, even when I have reset, the font has now come to Corbel. The font is no longer Calibri. Why is the font not Calibri? Did not reset to Calibri? Because I am not using the Office theme. I am using a different theme. Suppose now I go back to Office theme, my default font has come back to Calibri. Okay. So now a couple of other things. The other day, we looked at borders. We looked at borders for a particular paragraph. So some of you have asked, how should I have, there have been a bunch of similar questions on identical lines. One, how do we add a border at the bottom? How do we add border at the top? And so on, right? So these kind of questions. So all of those happen through the borders toolbox. So you select the paragraph and you go to borders and shading. So it's under design, page borders, you go to borders. Okay. Now when you go to borders, my basic one is none. So if you look at the preview over here, there are no lines anywhere. Suppose I want a line at the top. I want a line at the top. What are the options that I have first? I have an option of a box. What does a box mean? Box means lines on all four sides. I have an option of a shadow, which means lines on all four sides, and right side and bottom, there is a slight offset shadow. So it looks like it's a piece of paper which is held a few centimeters above a background, right? Now I have the option of a 3D one. So instead of just shadow on two sides, shadows on all four directions. So it looks like something is raised altogether. Or if I want anything different from all of this, then it is going to be a custom one. If I want lines only at the bottom and at the top, that has to be a custom border. So let me go ahead and select custom, right? Once I've selected custom, I can choose what style of line do I want. Suppose I want 3 lines, okay? 3 lines. In next, I can choose what color. So if you see, this is actually 3 very consecutive, very closely spaced lines working or behaving as though it is a single line. I can have two also, I can have dash dot dot also, I can have dash dot dash, I can have dash dash dash, I can have close short dash dash dash, I can have dot dot dot, I can have a broken line, and so on. If you see, you have zigzag, you have two zigzag wavy pattern, you have a whole lot of things to choose from. So now let me choose this 3 or let me choose this 2. Next thing to do is the color that I want it to appear in. I want it to appear in this color. What is the width I want it to appear in? Usually it is half point. If I want it, I can have it in a different width. Now apply to what? Apply to this particular text. Now over here, it will say, where should I want the custom borders to appear? I want it to appear at the top. So I'm going to select the top button, and I want the custom border to appear at the bottom. So I'm going to select the border button. Okay. Where do I want it? I want it at the paragraph level. I do not want the side ones. Clear? So if you see the preview, here it shows me only at the top and only at the bottom. Click OK. Now you see it's only coming at the top and coming at the bottom. I can make other changes to it as I want. Right? So the same way, from the same place, I can make other changes as well. So if I'm not happy with that, I don't want it happening at the top, then I can go ahead and make changes and say that I want it only at the bottom. That's also possible. So I can just have it at the bottom and I can leave it over there that way. That's also possible. All of these changes you can have. The other thing that we can do here, I'm just going to undo this. The other thing we can do here is to have a border for the entire page, a border for the entire page. So again, I go back to the same dialog box, but instead of borders for a paragraph, I go to borders for the page border. Okay, so I go to page border. Once again, the options are same. So I can have a box for a page. I can have dot, 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 dash, 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 whatever. Color, I can say this color and click OK. So if you see, the page now has a border. Remember, this border is going to be printable. Word is going to print this border. Okay, so it's not just a visual guide, so it's actually going to be printable. Now, what are the use cases of borders? Funnily, borders are used both in very professional documents as well as in very childish documents. It only depends on what style of borders you use. Some of the very formal documents, if you look at some really formal documents, they will have a classy black border like this, just a single line, or maybe even a gray kind of a border, one of the grayscale ones. Looks very classy, right? If you're going to, if you ask a child to submit a school project, they are going to use one of these art borders, ice cream cones. So can you imagine like a formal document being sent this way? Never, right? But you can definitely imagine a formal document being sent in this particular fashion. Looks very, very classy if you are using the right way. Okay, suppose you frame the content. The content is kind of really important, really solemn kind of content. Sometimes news which is a little sobering is conveyed. Then you can go ahead and have this kind of a border. So you say border, a very solemn kind of content. Suppose you've got some other sort of content, you can have other borders depending on what sort of content you want to have, right? But then I know I said that art borders are childish. Not all art borders will be childish. There are some which you utilize. Of course, don't use trees and stuff unless you are making like you have a tropical party at home, so you want to have trees and stuff. You have a Diwali party, so you have crackers. That's a different issue. But then there are some nice borders here, like particularly this one. No, sorry, not this. This one. Yeah, maybe this. Yeah, this kind of looks nice. This kind of looks nice depending on, I mean, it has to suit the content. It has to suit what you're trying to do. If you're submitting a report, do not do this. But if you're making a poster for something, if you're making a booklet for some other kind of thing, there would be occasions, there would be situations where this would work. If you are going to print something with borders, then remember to definitely have gutter position set correctly. If you do not have gutter position set correctly, then chances are this one left side border will get hidden and that will not look nice. Okay, that is not going to look nice because one of the borders will get hidden. You can change how thick the border has to be. You can make the borders thicker. They'll become bigger now, right? So you can see how you can, it's all completely customizable, how much of it should be borders and what should be what and things like that. You see now it's no longer looking as nice. All right. So you can make all of these changes over here. Okay, so you can even have a background for a particular paragraph. So I can remove the page borders and I want to have a particular background for this paragraph. So I go here, I say this works of course nicely with borders. So let me select a border and then let me say fill in a very light gray. So now you see Actually, let me just fill with a slightly darker color so it becomes even more clear to you, but don't use a darker color when you are actually working on it, because the darker the color, the less readable it is. Here I'm using a darker color just to show you how you can make that paragraph pop. Okay, so what are the various ways you know how to make the paragraph pop? You can make the paragraph pop by using a larger font size, a different font size, italics, bold, and things like that. And you can do something like this also. Now, I want to highlight one very important thing. Most people, when they want to highlight a paragraph, you see how they do it is this way, right? This is, I have mentioned, this is only a temporary kind of highlighting to show other people. Okay, do you see the difference in look between these two? If you want to call attention to this particular text, then changing the shading, changing the fill of it is the right way to go about. If you just want a temporary kind of highlighting, please see this. Then this is okay. Clear? Is that all right? Is that clear? Even if you want to make, I'll just do an apple to apples comparison just so you can see how it looks. You see the difference, right? So I wouldn't, once again, I wouldn't recommend that you use this color, but I'm just showing you the color just so you can see what the similarities are and what the differences are. If I zoom it a little bit, zoom in a little bit, then it becomes even more clear. So you see here, between the two lines, there is a white space. Here, there is no such thing. This does the job of actually highlighting the text. Now, how do I make this look nicer? I can make this look nicer either by choosing a lighter color, right? I can do this, or I can choose the opposite. I can choose a darker color, but make the text light color. This is also possible. Either way, it becomes readable. Either way, it looks nice. All right. What else did I want to? Okay. So the other thing that I want to show you is about page color. Right. So let's select everything and go back to the defaults. No highlights, no color, nothing. Okay. So now you can have page colors also, a page background. Sometimes you want to just make the page look a little interesting. So you can have a nice little page color. Okay, you can have a bit of page color. Now this page color, you have to remember, by default is not printable. Okay, by default, this is not printable. And I can show you that if you look at print preview, you will see that by default, this will not print. So why is it showing in blue color over here? That's because there's an option for setting this. By default, it will be unchecked. Print background colors will be unchecked. This is what is going to be for you. So now you go there, it's a white paper. So what would be the result? It'll just be a regular white piece of paper. Now, the question is, why is it this way? Because a lot of people may do this just so it looks nice on the screen. And when they print it out, how is printer going to create the blue color on white paper? Of course, it's going to print the entirety of the white space with blue color. What is the smart way to get this kind of result? The smarter way to get this kind of result is to buy blue color paper, light blue color paper, paper of exactly this color is available in the market. You would buy this color and then print on black. That would be the right way to do. However, if you really want to do and if you know what you're doing, then the option is there under word options, under display, go to printing options, print background colors and images. Then this is going to get printed. So you have to be very careful. This is just a safe thing in Word so that people don't have any unintended waste of ink. So if you realize inkjet printers, people that people use at home, they could be fairly expensive. You know, ink cartridges are very expensive, and if you start printing a document with a page color at the back that you did not intend to print that way, your entire 1,000 rupee worth of cartridge could get over in less than one single page. So, you know, that's the reason why, just as a safety thing, by default, it's switched off. You can have other options as well. So you can have, like, you know, you can set different kinds of gradients if you really like. Please don't overdo these kind of things. They really look bad if overdone, but these kind of things are available just in case someone decides to do. It's also possible to have a picture. You can have a pattern. You can have something like this, right? A grid kind of a pattern, or you can have a picture as well. So you can select a picture and you can search for a picture. Like I said over here earlier also, I had shown you this. So it's showing you Creative Commons. Now remember, this is going to be in the background. So I'll select a picture, click insert. Okay, click. So it selected this in the background. It selected this completely in the background. Now see what's happened. When you print, that's still not going to get printed because it's a non-printing page fill. How do you print it? Print it by going to options, display, print options, and changing that particular thing. Okay. Another thing that you can do, would be to have a watermark. So you can have, suppose, you know, typically most often you have things like confidential, draft, sample, these sort of things, urgent. These are the ones that are most commonly done. So these things, the common ones, are available to you as sample watermark. So draft. Let's look at this. This is going to print. This is needed to print, right? So you send it to someone, that person immediately knows that this is a work in progress kind of document. You can customize this by going to custom watermark, and you can select what you want. You want something else. That's possible. You want to change the font. Completely possible, right? Of course, I'm not suggesting that you do this, but I'm just showing you that's completely possible. You want to remove the watermark, go there again and click remove the watermark. You want to have a photo, a company logo. So if you see some companies, they'll have their own logo as the watermark. So you go back to custom watermark, go to picture watermark, and select the picture. And you say here, you say, I mean, I wouldn't suggest you do this, but just showing you how this is possible. Creative Commons alone is selected by default. This is the current logo for Intel. Okay, by default, it will be washed out, which is what you want. So you apply and click close. So the watermark is there. So even if you have another text, again, by no means am I suggesting that you put Intel logo in a document. I'm just showing you how it would look. Suppose this were an official Intel document, this is how the watermark would look like, right? So watermarks, remember, are printable characters. Watermarks are printable things. You can even have a regular photo on it. You can have a photo just like how we saw earlier, and that photo would also print differently. It'll print in that light color, but it'll print. It's downloading. So you click apply and click close. You see, that's possible. So who does this? Suppose you are making a brochure for a forest department or an eco-tourism resort or lodge, you might want to have a design like this. Okay, so these are the various use cases for these kind of things. Now, let me show you how to add page numbers. I've seen a lot of questions about page numbers. I thought we did discuss page numbers the other day, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and discuss page number once again. So all options relating to page numbers you will find under insert menu, because if you see logically, when you say page numbers, what are you going to do with page number? You will say insert the page numbers, right? That's what you will say, insert the page number. So all page number options are going to be available within insert the page number, right? So you go there and you open page number directly. So it will give you a set of different options. Top of page, where? One this side, one in the middle, one on the other side. Accent top of the page, that means it says one with a page label. The other kind of accent, bold numbers, page 1 of 1, bold numbers, another style, page 1 of 1, and so on. Why would page 1 of 1 be important? Suppose you have sent a very crucial document to someone and you want to make sure that one particular page has not been removed. Suppose you sent a document to someone, it's a very crucial document, and the last few pages, suppose it's a business plan or something, the last few pages contain very essential material information. And you sent it through someone who has probably done a bit of mischief with you and removed the last few pages. The person who receives, he says he has received 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10 pages. How is that person supposed to know that it was sent originally with 12 pages or 10 pages or 15 pages? If he receives with 10, he will think that pages 1 to 10 are there, and therefore that is the complete document. How do you prevent this sort of a situation? You prevent this sort of a situation by including the total number of pages. When you include the total number of pages, it says the 10th page will say pages 10 of 15. And if I don't have other pages, then I will immediately alert the sender saying that, hey, I think you had sent me a 15-page document, but I seem to have received only a 10-page document. Right? So that is going to tell the person that there has been some sort of an error. So I can choose to put the page number here, or I can choose to put the page number at the bottom. Okay, all of these things are possible. So I say at the top, at the bottom, I can choose to put it at the margins also. Suppose sometimes you have documents which are a little more stylish, they'll have pages on the page numbers on the margin, or I can decide to put it on the insertion point. Wherever I have placed the insertion point, I want the page number over there, right? So now let's say I'll just put the page number somewhere at the top center. Okay, so page number right now is available. From the top, the header is 1.25, footer from the bottom is 1.25, and the middle of that is page number. What are the various different things that I can do, first of all, with the page number? So I go to page number and I say format page number. I want the page numbers not to be this way, but I want them to be in Roman numerals. Okay, so go ahead and make it in Roman numerals. I'm happy with how this is. So then go ahead and close the page. Okay. Now you would often have books. If you look at a printed book, right? So there's a cover page. After the cover page, there's a blank page, right? Then there are a few pages which in publisher terminology are called together front matter. They are called front matter. Okay, it will contain a dedication page, it will contain information about the publisher, legal information, ISBN, and things like that, table of contents. And then after that, the content will start. If you look at these kind of books, typically you will find that the front matter has a different numbering scheme. So front matter will typically either have ABCD, or they will have Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And the actual page numbering will start from the first page of the content. Okay, the actual page numbering will start from the first page of the content. So how do we have these kind of two different styles of pages or two different styles of page numbering or multiple different styles of page numbering within the document. Suppose this document also has annexures at the back. Those annexures, you will end the content page and then annexures will be numbered separately. Page number 1 of annexure 1. That's going to be a separate numbering altogether. So how do you do that? You will do that by using something called section break. Now, sections are another form of non-printing break. Okay, what do we mean by break? Break means any division within a document. You can have a page break, right? You can have a page break and you can enter a page break anywhere. Suppose I enter a page break here where my cursor is after this word galleries, right? Then what happens? Then a new page is created over there. Wherever you create a page break, a new page gets created. That means this part goes into the new page. Let's see, insert, right, a page break. So you see that this one has come to the next page. There is another way I can do. I can just do control and enter. That will also achieve the same job, right? So you say this themes, the word themes onwards should go to new page. So control, enter, or insert page break. Okay, now that I have put a new page break, take a look at what has happened. It's continuing with Roman letter 1, Roman letter 2. Now imagine this front matter has ended. Now from here, I want to have a new section. I want to have a new section, right? So now section is part of layout. So you go to layout and there is a button called breaks. So over there also you can enter a page break, and from here I'm going to enter a section break. Now the section break for me will have to start from the next page. I can also make the section break continuous. If I need it, section break will not show up. Suppose I know that the section break will be over here. Why would I need it? I would need it if I want to apply a different style to a particular section. But in my case, in this particular case, I am going to have a next page section. So I'll say next page section. Okay, now that this is a new section, so I'm going to have this new section have a different kind of text. But what I want here is I want the page numbering to start differently. Okay, I want the page number to start differently. So I'm going to go and double click that. Now the page number has opened up, right? Page number is opened up. Now here it says link to previous. Why is it linked to previous? Because it is a serial thing. So Roman number 2, so Roman number 3. So my first job is to break the link to the previous one, right? So I have the page number here. This link to previous, I'm going to first break. Okay, so now it is no longer linked to the previous one. So I select this and I say page number will be here, formatted differently, right? And where will it start? Will it continue from previous section? No, it's going to now start at 1. I close my header footer. I see what has happened. My front matter is Roman 1, Roman 2, and here onwards page number is 1. So let me do a little more text. And I'm going to put this in another page. You see? So now my entire document, the front matter is Roman 1, Roman 2, and after that it's going to continue as 1, 2, 3. And I can do this any number of times within the document. So I'm over here. After this, I say I want a different section break. Okay, so now I have random. Okay, so here I want this because it's a different section break. So again, it has restarted from 1. But now let's say this is now back in the say annexure. So I don't want 1, 2, 3, 4. First of all, I break the link and then I go back to format page number. And this section needs to be marked as capital A, B, C and start at A. All right, start at A. Clear? Now, very often you would want that the cover page should not have a page number. The cover page should not have a page number. So before that, let's go ahead and create that first. Let me first insert a new cover page. So over here, I've come here. Okay, I can go ahead and insert. I go to insert. There's a cover page. Let me go ahead and insert. So it again has a variety of built-in styles. Austin, Banded, Facet, and so on. Okay, this is a cover page, right? This is a cover page. So if I want the cover page to have a different, by default, it doesn't get. So by default, it has a different first page. So what happens when you select different first page? Then, sorry. What happens if you select a different first page? Then the cover does not get that page number, and only from the second one onwards it gets. So if you see, it says first page header. So first page is treated like a different section altogether. Second page onwards gets this. So now let's see how our document is. So there's a cover page. Front matter, second page onwards get numeral 1, Roman numeral 2. And then my body text gets Arabic numeral 1, Arabic numeral 2, and then my annexure gets capital A, capital B, capital C, and so on. Okay, so this is how I can break the different parts of a document and number the pages differently. Okay, clear? I'll show you one more thing. I was talking about bleeds the other day. I was talking about bleeds the other day, making these pages look nice. Okay, so one way to do this is, suppose I want to have a picture. Let me just go to some stock images. I don't have any pictures over here, so let me just see from here. Okay, suppose this person is working on, let's say, video. Okay, and I have the text over here. Look at my document. Not bad. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I can definitely improve it further, right? How would I improve it? So first of all, if you look at any magazine, you know, I don't have a magazine at hand right now, but if you look at a magazine, you would find that the magazine photos, or at least the nice looking full page photos, they don't start here. They start right at the edge. Okay, they start right at the edge. So I'm going to have to find a way to bring this right to the edge. So I'm going to talk about how to negotiate images later, but I'll just show you how to make this work right at the edge right now. So you do this by, first of all, going ahead and creating a custom margin, and all of the custom margins set to 0. Okay, so you set the custom margin to 0. So some margins are outside the printable area of the page. It says, okay, just ignore it, right? This will assume that your printer is capable of printing borderless. So you see one side has already moved. So now I'm going to bring this over here. I'm going to show you these kind of text wrappings later, so don't worry about it. So I'm going to extend the other side all the way to this end. Okay, all the way to this end. Now, if you see here, the text has also changed and gone end to end. How? We already know how to fix it by using the ruler. So I'm going to use the ruler and fix the text. Now, let's take a look at print preview. You see how much nicer the same document is looking? It's the same document, but you see just how much more evocative, just how much nicer this document is looking. So I'll just add a little bit of space. Let's see. Ignore this white that is showing at the top. It is showing, but that will not get printed. And I can show that to you. You go ahead and do print to PDF and see. So I go ahead and make a PDF of it. Take a look. show you. See, okay, this one did because the page layouts are not set correctly. But if I print it, it's not going to show up over here. The page layouts have to be set correctly because there is always the problem between the other problem is, again, you know, an America versus rest of the world thing. Rest of the world uses something called A4 size. Okay, whereas America uses by default something called the letter size. That is what causes this sort of a design problem. But then this is not going to get printed. What is going to get printed is going to look like this. So you see, it's a lot nicer to look at. All right, so maybe I can just take some of the questions. Okay, so there are a lot of questions, I think. Okay, I have. How to change? I'm just picking up the questions from roughly around 3:20. Okay, so questions for the last half an hour. How to change the default font? I've already told you that multiple times. You can go ahead and go to design, select a different font, set as default. That font will become the default for that particular style. Or you can go and come to this body text, right click, modify the body text, right? And you know, just select whatever you want, and then you say new documents based on this template. So it will become the default for this particular template. I think I've already covered this. Can we open a web page link from MS Word? Yes, you can, but that web page link is still going to open in a browser. So it's just going to be like pasting a hyperlink. There's a question about what is PT, point. Okay, so the font sizes are always measured as points, right? I had said this right in the beginning. So the commercial print back in the day was something called a 12 point. So what Microsoft did back in the 80s was to approximate the height of that, and they called that also as 12 points. So from there, commercial print doesn't have anything called 10.5, but since this is a computer, it's all digital, from a 12 we can derive what is a 10.5. Reena Gupta is asking, without increasing the font size, how can we paste borders? So font and borders are completely unrelated things. I'll just show you how to do the border. The only reason I increase the font size is so that it looks a little more readable. So I'm just going to select the document, go to design, and just go to borders, right? Go to borders tab and put box over here. That's all. So borders has got nothing to do with font size, but I increase font size to show that there is an extra added emphasis. So why are you making borders? You're making border because you want to show extra added emphasis. Suppose you have something which is smaller, that's also okay. So increasing font size has got nothing to do with border size at all. Shadab is asking how I applied those ice creams. Okay, ice creams, I didn't think anyone would want it, but since someone wants, page borders, you go to art border, and here you have ice creams, you have apples, you have trees, and you have patake and whatnot. Right, so all of this is possible. Will the borders be applied automatically on all pages? Sanya is asking. Yes, Sanya, borders will get applied automatically on all pages. If you do not want borders to apply on all pages, so if you want border only on one page, then that page will have to be made into a separate section. So you make a page a separate section, and then you can apply border only on that one page alone. How can we define border on page like 1 or 2 centimeter for left or right? You can do that over here. You can do that over here by you have this over here, right? So you say, where do you want this to be? You want this from the top, from the left, from the bottom, and from the right. While measuring edge of page, you want the borders to be how far. So you say, you can even make all of them different. So you say you want top and bottom borders to be very close to the page. That's also possible. So if you see here, the top and bottom will become very close to the page. The others are still further away from the page. Okay. How I add border in the selected paragraph, Bharati, I have explained that so many times. I've just shown that, so I'm hoping that would be clear. How to fade the background image so letters are visible properly. So, you know, when you are doing page color, right? When you're doing page color, I wouldn't typically, you know, expect you to do this. This is not really the right way to do it. But if you want to do that, then you will have to first of all create that sort of a washout effect and then upload that image. Okay. Otherwise, page color is not really a good way to use this, or because simply because you know it doesn't really help too much. But I think you can increase the transparency over here also. Also, another thing to remember here is because this is a tiling background, right? So if you have a very small photo, then that will get repeated multiple times. So it's an icon, so it will repeat multiple times, then that looks nice. But suppose you have a small photo of this kind of an animal, right? Then it's not going to look nice at all. Then it's not going to be something which is looking nice. And I'll show you why it's not able to import this. So let's just try this. Okay. So now you can go ahead and do this, but it's better to just do that early on. Okay. So now this is what I was telling you. You see, you don't, okay, it's not going to print, but you don't really have control over how it is going to tile. All right. So if you have to put a logo, then this is not the intended way to do. The intended way to do is through a watermark, and which will anyway document. Right. Vijay Ghadge is asking, suppose the document contains 15 pages and I want to number only the first 10, how should I do it? Then you will have a section break before the last 5 pages. So the last 5 pages will be a different section, and remove the page number from that. I've already shown how that is done. Okay, while I'm answering questions, maybe all of you can just answer attendance. So I'll just give you the attendance link. Okay. Right. Okay. Just taking a look at the other questions. Please repeat once more the process of breaking page for different page number. Just go to insert tab, okay, and insert a page break, or wherever you want the page break to appear, control and enter. If page increases in the earlier section, will it give previous page numbers or later? I'm not sure I understand, but if you increase a page, then it will take the appropriate page number for that section. So that page that you've changed will either go in one of the sections, right? So depending on which section, suppose you are in section A, they are not really labeled, but whatever, the first section, if you're increasing a page, then the new page takes the style of the first section alone, so it will have the page number from that. But if you're going into second section and then adding a page there, it will take the page number style from the second section. Design tab, I'm not sure when they added, but probably a very early one will not have design tab, but the page and all of these features are available in one of the other tabs. Maybe some home tab itself you will find. All the borders, Vishal Prasad, yes, all borders are printable. Borders will always print. Margins, okay, there's a question from Dr. Bhagya asking publications, they asked to set margins in inches. Point and inches are not the same, but when you go to layout, you can actually have a custom margin. So it'll tell you that what kind of margin you want, right? So 2.54 is actually 1 inch. So you can have, you don't have to set margins by number of points. You have to set margins by number of inches. So 2.54 is 1 inch. So you can set margins accordingly. Please repeat how to put logo. Okay, all of you who've filled in attendance, you don't need to tell me on chat. That's okay. Shushanto is asking, how can we get help from help button? You just type the help button and just look for the help article. So that's fine. Is a section break like a new page? Sanya is asking. Sanya, that's a good question. Section break, like I've shown you, it need not necessarily be a new page. So section break could be a new page, or section break need not be a new page, right? So depending on how it is, you may have a new page or you may not have a new page. Okay. So that's really about section break. And just seeing what else, what other questions. Okay, I have to cover one more important thing before I forget this one. There's another very important thing to cover. That is, suppose you decide to put a page number in one of these corners. Suppose you decide to put a page number in one of the corners, right? So page number, top or bottom, it doesn't matter, but one corner. Okay. Now here, if you put page number here, then you can imagine when you print double side, then this will cause a problem. Okay, only if you print double side. When you print double side, what happens is the binding will be over here. Okay, so now it will look odd that one page number is here, the other page number is here. So then ideally, if you look at books, the other page number should be here. It should say 2 here. Correct? Right? So how does this, sorry, my mouse drawings are terrible. So how do I fix this issue? So I fix this issue by going to the page number and having different odd and even pages. So I have a different odd and even page. So now I know that when I'm having a printed document, right hand side page is odd. Okay, so right hand side odd page, where should my page number be? My page number over here, right hand side odd page, should be here. Okay, where should my even page be? My even page here should be bottom of the page over here, right? It should be over here. Okay. Okay, once I have this, then if you look at it, the problem is resolved. No more problem. Page 1 this side, 2 this side. So when I print it out, it is not going to have this trouble anymore. Okay, so questions. There's so many. I'm getting a little. One second. Someone is saying the link from Google Drive is not opening the attendance form. Mr. Sanjeev Kaushik. Nidhi, can you please help? Mr. Sanjeev, can you just wait? Nidhi would help. Someone from the college would help. Oh, okay. I missed one. Okay, there's one question here from someone I saw who was asking, how do you remove a section break? You can remove a section break by enabling the non-printing document. When you enable the non-printing document, you will be able to see the section break. Okay, you'll be able to see the section break, and then you can just go ahead and delete. I'll show you. Just have a continuous section break from here. Continuous section break. Now let me have the non-printing document. This is a section break, so I can just go ahead and get this section break and then click delete. That's all. So the section break has deleted. So you'll have to first show the section break and then go ahead and delete the section break. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so just one quick feedback about the assignment that we had done the last time, right? Um, there was a small bit of a trick over there. So the text, original text had landscape orientation. Typically, documents have portrait orientation. A few of you, I suspect you copied the document from the original text and then put it into a new document, which is the reason it became portrait. But for others, for most of you, you have put it as a landscape. I'm not saying that's wrong or anything, but just not something usual. So the way to change this is go to layout, go to orientation, portrait or landscape. So you can change the document to landscape, and the landscape document you can change back to portrait. All right, so I will uh, quickly I'll quickly move on to our topics for today. So not too much to do, but roughly we'll need maybe about 1 hour, and I'll come back to questions later. Just one request, please keep the chat box a little clear with just questions. I have been saying this right from day one. Please do not repeat your questions, right? I will come back, but if you repeat the question, it gets really difficult for me to find. Okay, so today we are going to talk about some specialized text working with lists and tables. So when would you use list? Typically, lists are used when you have a whole bunch of related items. They all have to be related in some way. Otherwise, they cannot be on the same list. They can be on multiple different lists, that's fine, but not on same one single list. Ideally, all of the lines in a list should be short and they should all be of similar length. Okay, so this is not a very binding thing, but if you see that even if you see this one, right, this is a list. What you see on the screen right now, this is a list. And if you see all of these, they are typically of similar length. So you don't have one very long sentence and rest of them as single words. Right? So it doesn't mean that you have to have all of them with the equal number of words or all of them have to be the same length, but just some similar kind of length. Language has to be parallel in all of the lists, and this definitely goes for all points within one list, but it also goes for all the lists in the content, in the text. Okay. Consistent fonts, use consistent fonts. So if you look at this particular list, just one look will tell you that the point consistent fonts look slightly different. It doesn't look the same, right? And one look will tell you it looks almost the same, but it looks slightly different. It looks like a shoddy, sloppy job. I did it on purpose to show you how it could look like if you have inadvertently slipped in a different font into the list. So make sure you have consistent fonts. Sometimes you can add certain keywords in bold or in underline just so a person who is skimming, what does skimming mean? Not really reading, just quickly looking through the content. So you can add emphasis by making certain words, keywords bold, for helping people who are just skimming through. Only if the points are in full complete sentence, only then you will put a full stop. Otherwise, you will not put a full stop. So here, all of my list items are not in complete sentences. Therefore, I do not put full stops. I'll discuss this in a lot more detail when we get to PowerPoint, because the theory of making lists is roughly the same. So we'll talk about this when we get to PowerPoint. Okay. Now, again, I've discussed this briefly the other day, but we'll talk about more of it today. Bullets or numbering. You use bullets when there is no order, it's neutral. And when there are more of the list items and there is limited scope for making a specific reference. You can maybe tell the audience, I can tell all of you, look at the third point on the left. I can tell that, right? But if I have bullets and if I say, look at the eighth point, then you are going to have trouble because then you are going to start counting what is the eighth point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Instead, if I have numbers, then that allows for more specific reference. If I have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I say look at point number 8, then you are able to look at it more easily. If I have A, B, C, D, E, and if I say look at point E, you are able to look at it more specifically. So it allows more specific reference. I have mentioned this before. If you are using Roman numerals, no more than 5 or 6 items, and generally use numbering where there is some sort of sequence or some sort of an order implied in it. Okay, so let's quickly move to Word. Quickly move to Word. So how do I make these lists come up? I can do it by having the list on the top, this list button. So this prepares me for having some sort of a text. So I can say A. Every time I hit enter, it'll put in a new one. It doesn't know how many I'm going to add, right? So every time I enter, it's going to put a new one. Now it's over. I don't have any more list items. So what? I'm going to just hit enter once again. If I hit enter twice, Word knows that my list entry is over. No more list items to enter for me. Okay, clear? Right? Now you can go ahead and make other changes here. You can go ahead and make other kinds of changes. What kind of changes? I've shown you some of these. Now you can make changes to, you say, I don't want this, I want this kind of a bullet. Just aesthetic choices. There are no right or wrongs here, just aesthetic choices. You're talking about items that have been done. You're trying to talk about important things, right? Just don't go very overboard and have something very wild, but you can do whatever else you want to do. So you can have something like this. That's possible, right? Points to look at. Okay, so whatever you want with it, you can go ahead and do that over there. You can also have numbers. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 with a dot, 1, 2, 3, 4 with a bracket, and so on. I can set a new format. Okay, what is the number format? I can have it with a dot. I can have it with dash. Right? I can do whatever I want, whatever crazy thing that I decide to do. I can say it'll do whatever I ask it to do, right? So you can make whatever formats you want, and then you can say that this is the format that all my documents should be in. Where should it be? What should the font be? All of these things can be set from here, and I can set that as the default, and it'll open up every time I need to open this. Where do I want? I want it to be centered. That's also possible. So this is going to get centered. All of these things are possible, right? So I'm going to just default to the original. This is my default. Now, okay, so there are points and then there are subpoints, right? So all of my numbering library now got messed up. Okay, so there are points and then there are subpoints. A, under A, I want to add a few subpoints. So I say A for apple. Right? How do I tell Word that this is a subpoint under 1 and it is not point number 2? So I bring the insertion point here, wherever you see it right now, and then hit the tab key. Okay, I hit the tab key. I can either hit the tab key or I can hit the indent button. So if you see here at the top, there is indent button. I can do that also. Okay, so I go to this, bring the insertion point there and hit the indent button. Okay, now the moment I hit the indent button, you see the others have reconfigured to become 2, 3, 4. So I add here another one, right? And I say B for no, right? Come here, hit tab key. Okay, now I realize that this is too far. This is too far, and I don't want it to be that far. So I bring it closer with the ruler. Okay, I can do this every time I want to change. Say C for Canada. This is unfortunately not the default one, so I'll have to do this again. Okay. Now, I do not want the second one to appear with that small circle. I want it to appear with a small numeral, right? So let's say, how do we do that? How do we do something of that sort? Find a new numbering level. So here, if you see, how are the level changing? First is number, second is a white circle, third is a small black square, and so on. I can go ahead and define a new numbering level. And if I go ahead and define a new numbering format, I can go ahead and change that entirely. Okay, I can go ahead and make whatever changes I want to that in that particular format. So I can even set a numbering value. I can say that from here onwards, it has to start a new list. So this one onwards, I can start a new list. So I can say set numbering value, set it to 1. So it's again a new list. I can go ahead with this one, which will give me a completely different kind of numbering style. Maybe this is what is my better one. Okay, a multi-level kind of numbering. So it's easier to say, look at 2B, look at point number 2B. So specific referencing is possible. If I say what is point number 2B, you will say B for point number 2B is Bombay. Okay, so these kind of specific referencings are possible. Um, okay, if you have a text, if you directly have a text, right? So I have my random text. Okay, now suppose in this random text, each one of these paragraphs is a new bullet point. Each paragraph is a new bullet point. So I can select this and I can press this. Okay, or I can select this and I can press Control Shift and L. L stands for list. So remember, L stands for list. Control Shift L will apply the default bullet point style to this particular text. What is the default bullet point style? The default bullet point style is the first one. Now you can add other things also. Suppose you say this, and you say this is a second point. This is the third point, right? Now, suppose you've by mistake made this a subpoint. Okay, you've by mistake made this a subpoint, but you want this to be a major point. So what do? Bring your insertion point here and indent it out, right? Indent it out. So it was indented in earlier, now you can indent it out, okay? You indent it in with the tab key, you indent it out with Shift plus tab key. Okay, suppose it was indented in, you can use indent out button here, or you can use Shift plus tab. So if you bring it here, out, now tab key will put it in. This is already in. This is now in with tab, Shift out, it will be out. Okay, clear? All right, do you understand? So that's how we work with the uh, uh, list items. Okay, there's a question here from I missed the question. Okay, the question here from Sanya. You know, those of you who are asking for the attendance link again, I don't understand what stops you from just scrolling up and finding the link. I mean, you don't really need someone else to post the link again and again. I mean, I'm just scrolling. I can see the link being posted multiple times, right? 2, 3 times I can see it. I don't think it's needed at all. You can just scroll up. And the same thing I say for the groups also. Just scroll up, read the solutions, read the suggestions. You know, they are all posted, and then you can just find your answer from there. All right, so there's a question here from Sanya asking, can you use the indent button for paragraph? Yes, you can. You can use the indent button for paragraphs. Okay, so this is about using list. This is what is the use of list. So only thing to do about list is there's not much to learn here in terms of features, but what you really need to know is when to use list, when not to use list, and when you are using list, when to use a numbered list and when to use a bulleted list. Now remember, typically speaking, lists always look nice with paragraphs. Okay, so a report, if you are submitting a report that only has lists, it looks like a draft work in progress. But if you have a paragraph and then if you have important points in a list, then that looks like a professionally nicely done job. Okay, so make sure you have lists in combination with a paragraph. We'll move on to tables. Move on to tables. Now, tables are a very vexing issue for a lot of people, but tables are quite simple in Microsoft Word. So how do you insert? How do you create a new table? So the easiest way to create a new table is go to Insert and go to the Table button. And once you click the new little arrow under that, there's a grid. What does this grid mean? This grid just lets you create a table. So here one box is selected means it's a 1 into 1 table. 4 are selected, 2 into 2, 2 rows, 2 columns. So you see, you can quickly adjust how much. So I want a 3 into 2, right? So I say 3 into 2. So it's always column into row. 3 column, 2 rows. So that's fine. I can always anyway add more number of rows later. So if you make a mistake here, that's not the end of the world. So don't worry about that. So I'll just select a 2 into 2 first. So I'll say this is name and this is number. Okay. How do I move between them? I move between them with tab. Now my cursor is here. From here, I want to move to the next cell. Okay, I move. If I hit tab yet and again, then it's going to create a new row. Okay, so it's very easy to create as many rows as we need it to create. So I'll have A, and how do I move within a cell? I move within a cell with enter key. How do I move between a cells? I move between a cell with arrow keys. A, B, C, D, E. Okay, arrow, top arrow. Okay, 11, 14, 15, 21, 15. All right, so this gives me a basic table to work on. Now, if you see, I can have a whole bunch of styles for the table. So I select the table and I click this little arrow. So you see there are grid tables, there are list tables, and all sorts of things. What is the difference between grid and list? Grid will have every cell as a separate line. The other one will not. So I can have different ones. I say I like this. Every cell has its own line. Some of the lines may not be visible because they are turned white, but they are there. They exist. Okay. I don't really like this. So I'm going to change it into this. Okay. Or I can make this smaller so it looks nicer because it's a very small one. Okay. So I can basically do whatever I want with it. There's another way to do this kind of a thing. So I remove this table, delete table. Suppose I have the same thing as text, name and number, right? And they are divided or they are separated either by tab or by comma. So they can be separated by tab or they can be separated by comma as well. But they have to be consistent. Whatever is the separation, that has to be consistent. Okay. So now what is the separation? The separation is comma, or it can be tab also. So I click this and then I go to insert. There is table. I go to that table. Under insert, there is something called convert text to table. So I go there and it has automatically said number of columns are 2, number of rows are 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. What is the text separator? It is comma, right? It is comma. So now, where would this not work? Where would this not work, right? Suppose you say, suppose your things are like this. Okay. Now, imagine New Delhi, comma India has to appear in one single cell. Now, this is not going to work, right? This is not going to work for you now. Now, let's just see what happens. Okay. Now, you want only two different columns because it's country and number. You see what's happened? The whole thing got spoiled. Country, number, New Delhi, India. Because it's a comma there, it has split over there also. Not exactly what we wanted, split completely at random. So it doesn't work for these kind of things. It is supposed to only have, I mean, you can use comma separated when there is no other one. Otherwise, you will have to have a tab separator. So if you have a tab separator, then this is going to work just fine. So you have tab, here also you have a tab, here also you have a tab, and here you have a tab. Right? Now take a look. So tabs, columns would be 2 and rows would be 8. Let's see why it's taking. Okay, so country and number, there are too many tabs, so it's gone into a next one. But otherwise, you see broadly it works. Okay, you can have other kinds of separators. You can have what is called a tilde separator. So you can have this character as a separator character. That's also possible. Anything but not a comma. So if you have anything but that's not a comma, then that is going to work over here. So you can go there, click convert text to table. Now I have other character. What is the other character? I have this one. So that also helps me make that table. Okay. So now this table, I have a bunch of predefined things that I can do. There is a header row, which I can have a separate one. There's a banded row that I will see. Right. So this will change all of the options. So here, if you see, all of these are banded rows. So which means rows, alternate rows are highlighted. Why is this? This is needed so it's easier to read horizontally. I don't want to see banded rows, then I will not see the banded rows. I want to see the banded columns, so I can see columns being banded. Okay, so one column being highlighted. It just depends on what kind of data. Suppose my data doesn't have a header, then I do not see styles with a separate header. Right? It just entirely depends on what kind of data that I have over here. Right? So now, suppose I have header here, and I want to only select the header line. So there are different ways of doing. I can bring my mouse here, and I can do Control Shift and right arrow to select this, and to select the next one also. Okay, so I do this, and I say bold, or I can select it by simply bringing the mouse here to the left, and that will also give me the same kind of thing. All right. Suppose now I want to have another column added. I want to have another column added. So I bring my mouse to just the top of where I want the column. Okay. Now the mouse has changed into a downward pointing arrow. Downward pointing arrow. So I say right click, So downward pointing arrow, there is an insert. So I say insert. So it will say insert left or insert right. Now, insert left will put a new column between country and number. And insert right will mean country, number, then new column. So I will enter insert right. So this is my new column. I can do the same way for a new row. Now, new row is relatively easy if I were to add rows at the end. So I bring the mouse here and you see I'm just hitting tab key. New rows are getting added. So this is very easy. But suppose I want to add a new row between New Delhi and this first and the second one. Then I select this, again go to insert, under that, insert where? Insert above or insert below. So Ontario, Canada line, that second row is the baseline row. So do I want to insert above it or do I want to insert below it? Now let's insert above. So now it will be Mumbai, India. Okay, so inserting a row depends on where you are inserting the row. Depending on that, it will change. So you can have n number of these rows and columns, doesn't really matter. You can adjust the size with the help of mouse. You can adjust the size with the help of mouse. Now, there will be certain problems when you do this kind of thing. Sometimes you may want a particular header to be merged, right? Because they're showing something, they're showing a title. So you can select this and you can simply say merge the header, merge the cells. So now it is one. Suppose now you want this to be centered. That's also possible. So now, even though they are three different cells, they are behaving just like one particular cell. Okay. Now suppose you want to do the reverse for this particular cell. So here it is one, but you want this to have two different values. So you can split this into two. That's also possible. Right? It's possible to do it only for one and not do it for any of the others. If you want to select the entire table and make everything centered, click this plus sign, it will select everything and go ahead, the table itself gets centered. If you want to make all of the text centered, click this and click center for all of the text. Should center align. Right. So all of this should center align. Okay. Entire thing will center. Okay, so you can do all of these kind of things. Now, suppose you decide that this split is no longer needed, so you can go ahead and delete this particular cell and it will no longer be split, or you can merge these two cells to remove the split. Now, when it's removed the split, it doesn't know how to handle the two different values. So it will have both of those values and you will have to see what you want to do with that one. Okay. Now, there are a few vexing issues with Word, okay, with table. Typically, the issue arises, suppose the table is at the bottom of the page. Suppose the table is at the absolute bottom of the page. Then you have a problem that this table will get split into two pages. Are you okay with it? Are you not okay with it? Sometimes the table will get split and only one row will appear in the next page. I'm sure many of you would have come across this kind of situation. It's very, very annoying. So you can prevent that or you can allow that. Suppose you have the table split half here, half there, then you can allow it. Suppose it's only one row, then you can prevent it. Either way, you can do all of that by you going into the table properties. You can go all of that by table properties. So you go to layout and you go to properties, right? It will say allow row to break across pages. When you allow this, then this particular row can break across the page. But if you allow the row to break across the page, then you can also repeat the header row. Right now it's disabled because there's not enough data. But if you have enough data, then this will also be enabled. So when you allow the table to break across pages, then it is always a good idea to have the header repeated so that the next page does not just simply look like some table of numbers. It actually looks like there are the headers. So if there is a header here, that header will get repeated in the next page also. Okay, so whenever you are allowing it to do it in the move to the next page, then you go ahead and allow the header to be repeated. Okay, okay, a couple of things. Now you can customize individual things. Suppose you say here, if you say here, now this one, okay, suppose it's come like this. Now you see this looks a little awkward. This looks a little awkward. So there are different things you can do. One is you can make this, instead of top align, you can align it in the middle. Now it looks a little better. It's not aligned right at the top. It's aligned in the middle of the cell when you are seeing it vertically. That's one way to do. The other way to do is to expand this entire column to allow the longer names, right? So you allow the longer names. Again, this is something that we will learn much better in Excel when we are doing, because see, if you look at it, this grid is nothing but just like Excel. So the properties are very similar. So we will learn this kind of thing in Excel, but I'm just doing this for Word, whatever pertains to Word. Now this is okay, but if you see now, this column and this third column, both were equal earlier. Now they are no longer equal, right? So now how can you do them equal? You can go ahead and move this a little more, but now they have become very unequal. You can come back and do this. Maybe equal, may not be equal. So now if you see, this kind of manual adjustment is a very cumbersome thing to do. How can you be sure that they are equal? You can be sure that they are equal by selecting all of them and saying distribute columns. Once you've distributed the columns, then what Word has done is it has taken this entire space and made two exactly half columns. So if you see now, they are completely equal. I'll make them unequal and I will show you once again. I select them. I don't have to do the guesswork of how equal it is and things like that. Do this, click distribute columns. All of them have become equal. Suppose I do not do this and I had as they were earlier, right? I select all of them and I do the reverse, say distribute rows. Now all of the rows are equal size. This will also look okay if I change the text direction to middle. So you see, both of these things are now looking okay. So this looks like more space. So I do this. This is one way to handle the long names, or the other way to handle long name is by increasing first column and distributing the other two column. Are you able to follow this? Right? Okay. So now the question, another question that arises is, how close can this text be to this margin of the cell? How close can the text be to the margin of the cell? That is given by something called cell margin. Okay, so default cell margin, top can be very close, 0, but left and right are 0.19 centimeters. So I can reduce this. So now the cells can be very, very close. The text can be very close to the cell. Okay, I'm not saying it looks good or anything, but if you see, N here is very close. N here is now able to get very close. How close? 0.05 centimeter close. That's how close it can actually get when you are printing it. Okay, so you will have to again take a call on how it is and whether that's useful for you, whether that's not useful for you, and things like that. Suppose you have something like this. Right? And assume I have a lot of information, lot of data. So I want this like really compressed. Okay, I can change the text direction. All of these, I can change the text direction. Okay, now if you see, I can make this column very, very small. So I'm able to save on a lot of space. Hmm? So this kind of text direction does not work for everything. It works for text what people are familiar with. January, February, March, April, very familiar. Okay. But if you have text that people need to read, see, January, February, March, April, nobody really needs to read. So the moment you say J and some ARY, you know it's January, February, March, April, right? You know it's January, February, then you automatically know it's March, April. You are not even subconsciously reading it. You already know. So this does not need to have anything. But if you have some particular person's name, right, then this is going to be a bit of a pain. Then this is going to be a bit of a pain because it's not very easy to read in that kind of direction. So again, while this feature is available, you have to use your own discretion to know when to use this and when not to use this, right? Just because it's there does not mean you have to use them always, but they are there because there are certain situations, there are certain cases where you can use this kind of a design. Okay. Now, suppose you want to highlight this cell and this cell as maybe something which is really good or whatever. So you go to table design, right? And let's say you want this to be highlighted in red color or in green color. So you change the pen color to green. Okay. You can do this manually. That's one way to do. Or you can go to borders, right? You can say what are the borders that you are choosing. You are choosing outside borders, so these two you can choose outside borders and that becomes green. So what kind of border are you going to put? You can select that over here by highlighting the border, otherwise it's of no use. So you select this highlighting and you say outside border. So now if you see, emphasis is called, I mean, I've probably added a bit too much of emphasis with 3-point border, but you get the idea. You can customize this one and say that, hey, look here, this is the time when we've achieved the highest value. So April has been our best performing month, and February we have no data, and maybe February has not really been all that nice in terms of value. So you say we do not have data for the month of February. Right? So one single table can have as many borders as you want. Suppose you just want this line alone to be something. Assume you want that, then you can go ahead and paint that manually. So go to border painter, just manually touch that. So this is good when you want to do some single ones. I don't really know why you would want to do that, but if you want to do that. Now, suppose here you want this line removed. Ideally, it shouldn't be removed because even though it's highlighted, they are still two different cells. But suppose, assume for a moment that you want this line removed, so you can go ahead to border painter, turn this white. Okay, this still does not have the effect of merging the table. This has just made the table look white. The border of that table look white. All right. Okay, what else? See a couple of questions. Okay, so there are a few other things that you can do. You can align. So if you want to align the table nicely, you can then view all of the grid lines first, and then you can align the table. That's one way to do it if you're trying to do it properly. Achha, you can set the height and width of the table by centimeter if you are sure of how much do you want it to be. But anytime you are using centimeter in Word, make sure your page layouts are set correctly. Okay, layout has to be set correctly. Paper size has to be set correctly. Your paper size has to be A4, and only then you can use centimeter. So here, for a paper size A4 alone, this will work. Height 2 centimeter and width is 5.89. So you can do that. Now again, remember, just to quickly give you a recap, how do I make these two columns equal? So I select them and I say distribute columns becomes equal, right? Now, if you see, interestingly, I have selected only this far. So only those many columns got distributed. The others did not get distributed. So I can just go ahead and delete all of these. So it says delete rows. Okay. Go ahead and delete. Now suppose I want to delete this particular column itself. So I come here and click delete cells, right? Now what cell should I delete? So I can delete the entire row, that will delete the entire February, or I can delete the entire column. I can also shift cells left or shift cells up. So if I only delete this one cell, right, then what can happen? March column 2 can come up, April column 2 can come up to March, and so on. Or assuming there are other columns to the side, then the columns could move to the left. That's one way to do it. Or I can do the entire column. Again, this shifting left, shifting up is something that if you're not able to follow right now, please do not worry. We will cover this in Microsoft Excel, and that's when it will be very clear to you. Okay, so for now you can delete the entire column or the entire row. Let's delete the entire column. It's gone. Okay, interestingly, this has also taken the header away. Why did it take the header away? Because it's a merge cell, it doesn't know what to do. So what should I do with it? I have to split this first, or I can just remove the merging. So either of the two things. If I split this first and if I remove that, then it is not going to take that entirely away. Clear? Okay. So what else? Questions? What else? Just looking at the question. Okay. Okay. Another important thing is, suppose you have a very long table, right? Very long table. Then imagine the person has scrolled at the bottom. Okay. Now these are practical problems all of you would have come across. When you scroll down to the bottom, and then you will find all of a sudden one column you can no longer forget, no longer remember or find what the column was at the top, right? You realize that? So what can you do in such a situation? In such a situation, you can just say over here, you can just repeat the header row in between, right? So when you repeat the header row, of course this is not that big, but if you repeat the header row somewhere, then that this header row will again get repeated. So in general, if you have one full A4 page worth of columns, then it is a good idea to repeat it once in the middle of the page. So top half has its own header row, bottom half has its own header row. You don't really have to go anywhere else to look for it. Okay. You can directly select anything in this table through the select button. Select a particular cell, only the cell where my insertion point is will get selected. The entire column where my insertion point can get selected. Here my insertion point was here. So the entire column means all of the table itself got selected. Entire row can be selected or entire table can be selected. So sorry, I think the screen was paused. Okay, I was just showing you from this select. So you can choose what needs to be selected. So my insertion point is here right now. So from here, I can select a particular cell, or I can select the entire column, or I can select the entire row, or I can select the entire table. Okay, if I want to remove one particular thing, I can just erase that particular item. That's possible, right? I can just erase one by one things. This doesn't erase the content, this only erases the lines. All right, this only erases what the lines are, and it'll have the effect of merging cells in a sense. All right, questions? Let's go to questions. Okay, so okay, so let me just uh, take a look. I'm just trying to find till where I have done. Okay, I think roughly from here, Okay. Namrata is asking, can we do the reverse to table to text? Yes, that's also possible. We can do the reverse. So here, if I select the entire table, then I can go to layout and there is a convert to text. So I can convert it with paragraph marks and I can convert nested tables. So if there are smaller tables within a particular cell, that will also get converted. So now you see the thing is all converted to paragraph marks. So what is my separator now? Separator is enter. Okay. So I can come back and I can say that convert to text, but convert with comma. So now you see they're all separated with comma. So the blank cells, it is handling differently, but it is possible to do that. Shushanto is asking, can I break a cell into several columns only? Yes, you can. I think I already showed that. So you can go there and you can split a cell into as many columns as you want to split it into. That's possible. Can you change spacing of the table cells? Yes, you can change. I don't know what you mean by spacing because all of this is spacing. So you can change spacing. So you see all of this, what I'm doing is changing the spacing of the cells. Dr. Bhagya is asking for table, what is good, left, right, or center, then spacing, and we have to stretch table to side or be it in middle. Now, it really depends on what you are doing. So by and large, I don't think it's a good idea to have a lot of empty space on the table. So you don't fill a table to the entire page width, which you can do very easily, by the way, by using AutoFit. So you can do AutoFit to entire window, so that expands the table to use your entire page. But if you have only very little, so suppose here it's only 12, it doesn't look nice. It's better to have a smaller table. And later when we are doing graphs, then I'll also show you, if you have a smaller table, I'll show you how to bring text right next to it. Okay, so you can bring text over here in this space. I'll show it to you for pictures, but the same rule will apply for table also. Then it does not look like space is wasted. It'll look nice as a table. Can I put a box within a text in a table? Um, you mean like a border? You mean like a border of it? Should be possible. That should be possible. So you can have a border of the thing. That's possible. But I don't really see why you would do that. Also, you can insert a shape within a table. All of that is possible. There is nothing preventing you from doing it. But again, possible to do doesn't really mean that you should be doing. Okay, you can do all of these kind of things. You can also write the text within this box alone. uh, there's a question from Om. If you want to continue the table from next page, so can we copy the same format and cells? Yes, you can. You can copy the text from a table from one page to another page, and then you can go ahead and do that. Anu is asking how to have constant header as I scroll through data. You can't do that here. You can do that on Excel. You can't do that here because Word, remember, is predominantly a a writing application. It's not a data handling application. It can do data handling to an extent, but that's not its primary job, right? Can you do this? Can you make the header consistent on a piece of paper? You can't, right? If you cannot do header consistent on a piece of paper, you cannot do it on Word. So when you are scrolling on Word, the effect is actually that of turning the pages, right? Imagine, can you put the header right at the top as you turn pages? If you cannot do it on paper, you will not be able to do on Word either, because that is what is the job of Word. Evenly distribute column. I have shown you how to do evenly distribute column. Insert table is with Control T. Again, Modhumita, you cannot have a constant header as you scroll through data. You can do that in Excel. You cannot do that over here. When we do Excel, I'll show you that. Okay, so Anu is asking how to insert text on top of the table when the table is present at the beginning of the page. So that's very simple. You just bring the cursor to the right of the table and just hit enter so that it comes down a little bit, and then after that you can go ahead and add text. Okay, there are a variety of ways in which you can do that, and you can just push the table a little bit and you can add text over here. You can say table 1, right? So this table was right at the top and I have pushed it a little bit at the bottom, and then I can add the text over here. Can we insert bullets in tables if needed? Yes, you can. So you can do that. That's possible, right? You can do that. Okay, what else? Do that. You can split cells over here, right? And you can say, so there's a question from Dr. Alka asking how do you split the row? Okay, so I'm just showing that. So you can split this the other way also. So this row, I mean, Dr. Alka, correct me if I'm getting your question right or wrong. So, but you can split it this way also. Earlier we split it by column, now we are splitting by row. That's also possible. Reena Gupta is asking what autofit means. Autofit simply means that it will use whatever is the best possible fit. So you can say that autofit to content. Okay, so it is going to fit everything to the biggest content. So if you increase the content, you see the cell size is changing. So that is auto-fitting to content. So whatever is the longest content, or you can auto-fit it to the window. So that means the entire page is going to be used. So depending on how you want it, or you can just have a fixed width. Fixed width means no matter how much the content changes, you see the cell is not going to change. So the width is always fixed. It's not going to change at all. So each of these things are possible. Okay. How can we fix the table without splitting to another page? Typically you cannot do that. So if your text is that big that it has to split to another page, it will split to another page. So you can then do that by maybe making adjustments in terms of reducing the font size or reducing this text or wrapping the text around or something of that sort. But otherwise you cannot. If it has to split, it will split. How to insert table to a text already written, that's also the same way. So if I already have some sort of text, right? I have some text. Now I want a table over here. That's possible. So I can go ahead and do this, and I can say that insert a new table over here, right? I can just add a table in whatever fashion. That's all. Ashish Kumar is asking how to remove a split cell. I think I already covered. So you can go back and you can merge the cell again. You can go back and again you can merge the cell, and then that split cell will get removed off. How can I put text just above or below a text without much spacing? There's a question from Sushanta that I'm reading out. So see, that's a very subjective kind of question. Without much spacing means what, right? But in general, you can do that just like how all of the other things are. You can just put the text over here and you can just go ahead and use your paragraph properties, and you can just change how much of spaces that you want before and after, and you can get the text very close to the table. So there is no other real way to do this. Um, uh, you know, you can only do it this way to the extent that you are satisfied with. How to write in that blue box in the table? So you select the blue box, right click, add text. Okay, the blue box is a shape. It's a shape, so you can write within the shape. Okay. About the shapes, I will give you a very small tip before we end. So you can go to insert shapes. Now you see there are rectangles, but there is no square, right? There's a rectangle, but there's no square. There's an oval, but there's no circle, right? So if you see, oval can be this, right? Or oval can be anything. So if you see, circle is actually a special form of oval. A square is actually a special form of rectangle. So how do you make sure that this circle is proper circle? Is this an egg or is this a circle? It's an egg. Is this a circle? I don't know. So how can I be absolutely sure that a circle is a circle? I can do that by holding the shift key when I'm pressing the circle. So I'm pressing the shift key right now. Now it will only be a circle. No matter what I do, I mean, when I'm inserting, at least I left the shift key, but as long as I'm pulling it, it will no longer change to any other shape. Same thing goes for rectangle. If I'm holding the shift key, it will only become a square. Okay, so that's the reason I've heard people ask, and it's a brilliant question for those people who ask, because there's a rectangle but there's no square, there's a circle but there's an oval but there's no circle, and this is the reason why those two are not there. Prakash is asking how to make rows in equal height if they are in different size. Prakash, I already covered that. So you just select all of the rows, right? And you go ahead and distribute them. That's all. So now the rows are all of equal height. Distribute rows. If we don't want to print table, only text we want in the table format, how can we do that? Uh, okay, so the way to do that essentially is this, that you have the, I mean, all you want is you want the text appearing in that way. So you have this and go to the table design and have pen color as white and you select all borders. So that's all. The table doesn't get printed. It's only the text in the table format, right? Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the session. Um, like always, the group is open for questions, but unfortunately, I see that the group doesn't really get a lot of questions because it's always entirely overtaken by people who say that I'm not able to find, I didn't receive an email. And honestly, there has not been a single case of failed email delivery. So all of you who say that I have not received an email, you have actually received it, but you may not be able to find it. So I have already provided the syntax. Please use that syntax to to look for the email. And if you still do not find, please show me a screenshot with that syntax. Just don't say that I'm not able to do this or I don't find the option. I don't remember who, but the other day someone said that I'm not able to convert it into PDF, and that person actually shared a small video recording of what is happening. And when the person shared video recording, I think we were able to resolve in a matter of minutes. Within 2 minutes, I was able to help him resolve the problem, and it worked for him. So had he not shown me that video, had he simply kept saying it's not working, we would have kept on going back and forth in circles for many hours, because it doesn't help to say that it's not working. So you have to you have to just show me what's happening, what is the error that you are seeing, or what really is happening. So include a screenshot. That will help me troubleshoot. It becomes much easier. And as for those of you who say that you are not receiving the email, please, it's a request. Please just check with the syntax that I had given. Also, when you upload a form, definitely read the instructions attached with it. Yesterday, I had opened a new form so that some of you could send questions, because a couple of you have messaged me saying that I want to show a document, but how do I upload it? I think that's a very legitimate kind of a requirement. So I had opened that for you to send questions. And as soon as I opened, people started submitting assignment there. If you do that, then later when I'm looking for assignment, I'm going to miss your assignment. Okay, so please, it's all absolutely amply clear. So please, make sure that you look for the right link. Make sure that you are uploading things in the right place. Otherwise, we will lose your assignment or we will lose your questions. Please don't come and tell me later that I my assignment didn't get evaluated or something like that. All right. So yeah, so that finishes our session for today. I'll see you again day after tomorrow on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Thanks and have a great evening ahead. No, there's no assignment today. I forgot to mention there's no assignment today, but no assignment once again means that you're supposed to practice. Okay, so that's really what is meant by not having an assignment. Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot and have a great evening ahead. Bye-bye.